I'm feeling festive. This video is not sponsored by any of the companies mentioned.
Hi, Shanna Rowe Jackson here from Caution Artists at Play, and today I am in the mood to get cozy and to do something a little festive. So I think I'm just going to make a couple of Christmas cards. It's going to be a pretty relaxed video. I think I might use some markers and some watercolor, and I'm going to sit in my jammies, watch some Christmas movies, and I'll just take you along for the ride. So let's get to it.
So in this video, I am going to be creating two different Christmas cards. And for this first one, I took a lot of inspiration from the little downtown areas that I live near. I live in a pretty rural town, but I'm only a stone skip away from three pretty quintessential downtown areas that really scream New England. These buildings are about 200 years old or more. And so I took a lot of inspiration from these little downtowns that I grew up near. And they're always so festive in the holidays. Each storefront always has some fun lighting display or fun decorations. And I really, really just love that feeling of going to a downtown that still has brick sidewalks and brick buildings, and it really gives that old-timey Christmas feeling. And so that's what I wanted to capture with this one. I'm using a fairly limited color palette, and I decided to tackle this one with markers. I just pulled out my Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pens, both the regular brush pens and the dual pens, which have a larger brush pen on one end and a fine nib on the other. And I decided to try and keep it, as I said, fairly limited color-wise because it is a nighttime scene. And when I say nighttime, I mean like this is probably 4 o'clock in the afternoon because that's what it looks like in Maine when it's winter time. And so I thought that it would be fun to kind of give like a blue cast over everything and then come in with colors on top, since the markers are pretty transparent, so that the blue could shine through and it would all kind of loop together with the sky. And this isn't the best paper for these markers. Water-based markers don't blend that easily, but I still had a lot of fun with it, and I just wanted to relax and put all kinds of fun little details in here. And you'll see me going back and forth quite a bit with the details that I'm putting in the windows. I wanted to have a bakery and a toy shop and a barber shop. And then one of them is more like an apartment building. And I just took a lot of inspiration from the towns that are near me. And it gives me just such a fun feeling looking at it. So now you see me adding little details like Christmas trees and cakes and candy, and that was really interesting because this is only a 5x7 card, so getting in there with those details was pretty interesting. And this one has a bunch of toys in the window, and that's one of my favorite parts about this whole piece. I just wanted it to feel fun and festive and give the feeling of a nice cold December night just before Christmas. And yeah, definitely did that for me. And then I'm just putting in some stones and other details to the buildings. And of course, I named one of them Jackson's. And it is not a New England town unless you have a shop that sells fudge. I'm just saying. Then I check my lines and stuff. I am not somebody who does well with straight lines, and so this one was definitely a little bit of a challenge for me. But I kind of started messy and then cleaned things up with my fine liners in the end. It took me a lot longer than I had originally planned, so I ended up having to do my next card on a different day. But it was worth it. And then just going in and trying to straighten things up and get those details in there with my black fine liner. So much fun. And I've been getting really festive lately anyways. I decorated my Christmas tree in the studio, and it is all art supply themed ornaments. It is so much fun. I love it so much. And I had a blast with that. So I had that Christmas light, the Christmas lights on that tree lit up, and I had Christmas music playing while I was doing this, and I was in my hot cocoa Christmas pajamas. I was in the feels. I was feeling extra Christmassy. I love this time of year. I love the magical feeling, and I like trying to kind of capture that childlike magical feeling in my Christmas cards as well. Just that nostalgia. And I think like this particular card really captures that. And then putting some stars in the sky. I thought about putting Santa in, but I really wanted it to be more about the buildings. And yeah, just adding some little icicles and just fun little snow details to make it feel extra cold. And then signing off on it. So here is that one. I also, once I pulled the tape up, it kind of tore a little bit. So I used some of my Imuki paint markers, the silver, to create a silver border, and I love it. I love how that came out. Now on to the next one. Since I do live in a town that's pretty rural, my town is basically forest separated by fields. So I thought, you know what, I want to capture that in a Christmas card as well. So I drew inspiration from nearby downtowns, and now I'm drawing inspiration right from my own town. And I'm kind of thinking in my mind of going back in time before we had cars and we used horse and buggy, and there were just paths through the snow that were made by people going through in their horse-drawn carriages. At first, it started looking a little too modern with the way I did the road, so you'll see me redo that a few different times. And again, I am using a limited color palette. I want it to feel nice and cold, so I'm using a lot of blues and a lot of cool greens and just a little bit of pink to kind of lighten up that Christmas sky, or that winter sky, I should say. And of course, I want to make sure I have that reflecting on the snow and on some of the plants around. So I'm using a lot of pinks in the lighter parts of the snow and then a lot of blues in the shadows of the snow. And I started this really, really messy. I have some trees in the front that I masked out with some tape. And then I went in wet and wet for most of the background. And then, of course, I added a little fir tree. I knew I wanted to have some birch trees because I have a bunch in my backyard, but I had to add the fir tree because it looks like a little Christmas tree in the snow, and I just love it. Putting in the shadows and stuff. And this is coming from my imagination, so it's not perfect. But again, this was just another relaxing project. And then I'm taking that tape away and starting to put the shadowing on the trees. I did have a few issues with the trees and the sky. I didn't realize that my sky wasn't fully dry yet. I thought I had given it enough time. I was just too impatient. I was listening to my Christmas music and having a good time and didn't pay close enough attention to dry time. So there's that. So you'll see me kind of struggle with that upper corner a little bit, but eventually it comes together. And I am using my Holbein Artists Watercolors for this. I like them because I have a little bit more control. They don't have oxgall in them, so it doesn't spread as much, which comes in handy when I'm using my fine liner to create branches and trees and things like that. Plus, the colors are just gorgeous. And I'm making sure that on the shadows of the birch trees, I am using the colors of the sky so that they are a part of the scene. They don't just look stuck on there. Then I'm coming through with a fine liner and doing some details. I think it's just like a no-name fine liner. I don't remember what brand it is. Something cheap I probably got from Amazon. And then I'm putting in my branches. And this part is just so much fun and sad. It's like there's so much satisfaction putting branches in. I love this part. I had so much fun with the scene, and I just picture like a family in a horse-drawn carriage going home after getting their Christmas tree. Then I'm going to come in and splatter some paint. I'm just using some white gouache for that. I used my hand, but if you're somebody who doesn't like to get messy, you can use a palette knife to splatter paint. You just run your brush against the blade of the palette knife or use the handle of another brush and slap it on there, but I want it to be messy. And then here they are. These are my cards. I also put the silver border on the landscape as well because I wanted them to kind of match. Which one is your favorite? I can't decide. I do think I like these a little better than last year's, but I can't decide which one is my favorite. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. You have a fantastic day. Bye.